I've been slacking in my reviews lately, so I decided to try catching up by playing a short game, Wolverine on NES. This should be an awesome game, right? Based on arguably the most popular X-Men mutant, Wolverine, he just needs to run around slashing thugs with his adamantium claws and taking advantage of that healing factor, right? Well, it's a licensed game in the NES era, so you know that's just not gonna happen. First off, let's get the rainbow out of the way. That's right, it's an LJN published game. I've already said in the past that not all LJN properties are awful. I've enjoyed both Thriller Safari and Incredible Crash Dummies, both LJN published games. Hell, I even enjoy Friday the 13th in some sickening fashion. Sadly, Wolverine doesn't join that esteemed club of debatably good LJN games. So let's get into the game. You start it up and Wolverine is... why is his face blacked out? It's just a strange design choice. And to make things weirder, when you load into the first stage, you're thrown into an odd level that is made of what I feel looks like pipes and ladder rungs. The stage is called the First Trial, but for what? During the in-between level cutscenes, you're taunted by Sabretooth. So is it he that's creating these levels for Wolverine to fight in? Things don't get any better, with the levels moving on to one based in the sky, one where you have to swim through what I feel resembles a mass drain, and even a spooky Halloween-themed level, which I guess is accurate considering October is nearly upon us. They just feel out of place in a game like this though. Granted, I'm not the biggest comic book nut, so maybe this is accurate, but I somehow feel this isn't the case. Anyway, let's move on to the gameplay. This should be awesome, but there are some huge problems here. Wolverine doesn't get to use his claws as much as you want him to. Yes, you can press the select button and they will pop out, but every time you use them against an enemy, you'll lose a bit of health. Yes, that's right, you lose health for using his trademarked claws. What the hell is wrong with these developers for coming up with this stupid idea? So instead of using your claws, you get to do a simple 2-punch 1-kick combo. Logan throws 2 jabs and then finishes off his combo with a shin kick. You can also crouch down on all fours, to which Logan will... Seriously, is he punching these Silver Surfer wannabes in the balls? Sure looks like it. The enemies seriously do look like Silver Surfers, which is kinda strange, but there are a few other enemies that also don't feel like they belong. You have these normal civilian looking enemies that use guns, which is probably the most expected type of enemy in the game. You have these things throwing skulls at you. There are these shadow guys that fire off so quickly that it's hard to avoid them. And you have the killer bubbles, because of course you do. I guess I was expecting more mutant-like enemies to be found in the game. So let's get back to the gameplay instead of me lamenting about what could have been. Wolverine simply just needs to find the exit of the stage, although the stages have minor maze-like elements. This should be easy enough, but it's not, because enemies are relentless. Not only do they constantly fire at you, but they will often touch bodies with you, which honestly is even worse than letting the bullets strike you. That's because, since there's no invulnerability frames, touching anything that would do damage will constantly hurt Logan, meaning that if you can't get away from an enemy's sprite, you'll just see your life bar quickly whittle down. Coming from a character that heals super quickly, this is kinda BS. Yes, there are burgers and a drink bottle that you can find to recover a bit, but it's not enough to overcome the lack of invulnerability frames. You may notice the Berserker Meter on the bottom of the screen. Yeah, I don't know what it does. When killing enemies it increases, and when taking damage, it decreases. I've never once been able to fill it up, but from a guide I looked up online, supposedly you become invulnerable and swing your fists around at random. This sounds like a bit of a double-edged sword. The not taking damage part sounds awesome, but the random strikes sounds like it could hurt, since you can't move and attack at the same time unless you're in the air. The controls are a bit of a mess, helping to lend to a horrible gameplay experience. It's hard to notice as you watch this, I'm sure, but there tends to be what feels like a bit of a delay in all of your button presses. Maybe for the ducking it's because there's a short animation, as he leans forward a bit since he crawls instead of flat out crouches, but I really noticed it when jumping. This was my first experience on the first level. I tried to jump and nothing happened, well, other than me falling into the abyss. Come to find out, it seems like you have to stop moving and then hit the jump button to be able to leap in the air. Otherwise, nothing happens. I got used to it quickly, but why should I have to? If I want to make a leap to the right, I shouldn't have to stop pressing the right key. I don't know of any other game that has this odd control rule. Swimming is a whole nother ballgame, as I would dare to say that it's much, much worse than TMNT's infamous swimming stage. So get this, Wolverine has an air countdown, which I won't complain about because I'm actually fine with it. There's plenty of hazards in the water, such as the aforementioned killer bubbles that constantly spawn in and hunt Wolverine down, and lots of stupid fan-like things that will chop off his life quickly due to the invulnerability frames not being a thing. But the movement in the water is really, really wonky. Plus, how do you swim up? Since A jumps, you'd think that A would bring you upwards, but of freaking course not. It's not even up. It's B. You press the attack button to swim upwards. And there is an odd sense of momentum down here that I really struggled to get the hang of, and never really did. After this was the Haunted Graveyard stage, which was kinda cool, but trying to get through this stupid water level was extremely trying, and I only ever did it once. Plus, you only start the game with one continue, and I was able to find one extra one as well, but it didn't help too much. There are some hidden areas in the game, and some are much more secret than others. The one in the swimming stage forces you to swim through some pretty nasty hazards towards the entrance of the stage, but considering it gives you something to let you breathe underwater for longer, I can't complain. There's supposed to be one on stage 2 where you have to literally make a leap of faith, but every time I tried to get onto that platform, a random gust of wind or something would push me off to my death, making me wonder if it's even worth it to get down there. In the rest of the stage, magnets are visibly pulling Wolverine around, so what's the excuse down there? Although I'm really trashing the game, there are two things that I will commend it for. For one, the graphics. They are, for the most part, pretty well done. Sure, there might not be a huge amount of detail in the game's enemies or characters overall, but the stages themselves are pretty bright and colorful. Sure, the water stage is just all like 2 colors, as is the level that to me resembles a pyramid, but overall, I did enjoy the look of the game. In addition, the few times you see a close-up of an X-Men character, they look pretty impressive, except for maybe how Wolverine looks on the title screen, because that blacked out face just looks odd. Finally, the music. It's actually fantastic. It sounds oddly like Silver Surfer's music, and when I did about 2 minutes of research, it looks like Jeff Fullen was the man behind both games, although Silver Surfer also has Tim Fullen credited. It's really peppy, and I've always liked this style of audio in NES games. I could say that the music is easily the best part of Wolverine. And that's Wolverine on NES. When I saw a video of this game years ago, I really wanted to play it, as most reviewers seem to bash it, but it looked cool enough to me. But playing it myself, the complaints are justified, which is really disappointing. I really wanted to enjoy it. I feel like if there was some major design improvements, the game would have been incredibly fun. I'm especially thinking that the lack of invulnerability after getting hit is what killed the game the most, followed by the claw use hurting Logan. If that stuff was improved upon, I think the game would be liked by most NES players. But as it stands, it really is a bad game. Not the worst in NES library, mind you, but definitely not in anyone's top 10 or even top 100 lists. Final score? 3 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.